Good evening from New York. I am Selwyn Collins, your host of CWS As It Is. Thank you for joining us this evening. This evening we're having an interesting, very interesting show, so to speak. There are three women who visited Guyana. You'll hear about the trip from them. What interests me most about this is that the trip was very successful, and it was accomplished during Women's History Month. And then the latter part of the show, we're going to have two people. We're going to talk about Guyana and its economy and the importance of change. So I'll take a short break, and when I come back, I'll introduce you to these three lovely ladies.
It is a great honor for me to be sitting here and with the other ladies to talk about the work we did in Guyana, particularly myself, Michelle Sarin, on behalf of our alma mater, Queen's College of Guyana. Who am I? I'm Karen Wharton, born in Guyana. Attended Queen's College from 1976 to 1981, migrated to the United States in 1981, done various things, became active in the Queen's College Alumni Association New York chapter in, I believe, 1994.
Okay.
And I've been active since.
And Michelle?
Yes, I'm Michelle Nicole Foster. I'm an alumna of.
I'm not hearing you clearly, Michelle.
Yes, I'm Michelle Nicole Foster. I graduated of Queen's College. I attended between 1977 and 1984.
And Elizabeth?
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Eagle, and I am the co-founder and co-director of Education and Environment, which began in 2009, and we're based in New York City. And we developed the This Is Ours program.
This year, Queen's College celebrates 40 years of co-education. Karen and Michelle. So, how does each of you feel about this particular milestone?
Very good question. I'm excited, right? I can't believe it's been 40 years already, right? And I was among the second batch of girls that entered essentially in 1976. So I'm really excited. Our organization is excited. New York chapter is. It is a very important milestone, and we are having a year-long celebration. We're going to have a weekend of activities, of celebratory activities in later this month. A fusion lime on Friday, April 24th, a gala, a black tie dinner and dance on April 25th, which is sold out, and then a multi-denominational religious brunch, and we encourage, it's also a family affair on Sunday, the 26th. And basically we're doing we're having these activities, these celebrations, because we think it's very important. It is a milestone that we need to celebrate, because when you look at the history of Queen's College, it began in the 1800s as a boys' school for the kids of the colonialists. And over time, it basically transformed. Right? We opened doors to what we would refer to as ordinary boys, right? Not necessarily those of the elite. It was also a private school. It went public, so there were no school fees. So at that point, we can look at it as encouraging economic diversity. So in 1975, one of the last milestones was reached when we began having truly integrated education, co-ed, by admitting girls. So it is something to celebrate, and we are going to celebrate it. We are celebrating it.
And Michelle, what does this mean to you?
I'm just happy to be among the trailblazing women. I was in the third batch, and I'm just happy to be among the women who blazed the trail. There's so many of the young women who are there today. So it's great. It's great to be connected to the
Michelle,
school.
we're not hearing you loudly enough. Is it possible that you're far away from your computer?
No, I'm right up on my
Oh,
computer.
okay. All right, go ahead.
Yes, like I said, I'm just glad to be a part of the trailblazing women.
All right.
Just getting a lot of feedback.
No, no, it's okay. Let me let's continue and see what happens. Um, but anyway, let's get into this idea, Karen. This idea about to visit Guyana. How did this happen? This idea evolve.
I was so excited. I started prematurely a few minutes ago, but basically, last year, Queen's College also celebrated its 170th anniversary. And as part of that celebration, some of the women, in anticipation of the 40th anniversary of COED, thought that we would go down to Guyana and give back a little bit, provide a service to our students. So we decided we were going to have a half day of workshops led by alumni. So in September, I met Elizabeth, and we were talking about the various activities we were involved in. And at that time, I was very involved in organizing and planning the workshops, the conference. Elizabeth shared with me that she had just returned from a juvenile detention center in Florida, and she had basically delivered this program called This Is Ours. And as she began to tell me about it, it sounded as though it was something ideally suited for the children of Guyana for Queen's College. And so we, over time, explored it, right? And we basically developed we basically developed a plan, right, in conjunction with the New York chapter, to take the program to Queen's College. But given the cost of airline travel and so on, we thought that it might be even more interesting to, in addition to visiting Queen's College, to visit a school that was perhaps a little bit less resourced and in a different geography. And the group had grown by that time to include Sarah Nurse from Queen's College, who is not here today with us. She's probably listening, and Michelle from the Queen's College side, as well as Liz Tatone, Ali Gaskell, and Roz Sterling from E Square, right? So we developed the program. We used the program that was already in existence and try to work it into our schedules and the schedules of the people in Guyana. We connected through your program, actually. I saw Dr. Raquel Thomas Caesar from Wakarama, and I was very impressed with the work that she was doing. I reached out to her, and she put us in touch with the North Rupununi District Development Board, and that board controls manages of an institute called Bina Hill Institute. The institute has a vocational program as part of its youth learning center, and so we made a decision to include Bina Hill Institute Youth Learning Center in our plan, in our mission. And as you know, we executed in the month of March, Women's History Month. We visited both Queen's College and Bina Hill.
So, at what point did you guys realize that this program, as you call it, this is ours, will work? And how did you arrive at your next steps? Michelle, you want to take a stab at that?
Our greatest challenge was accumulating the resources that we need
Mm-hmm.
needed to get all the instructors there. So we began to reach out to our friends and family and very much launched a friend raising campaign so that we can raise enough funds to really get the teachers over there. We also worked with the alumni chapter to secure their support, and also collaborated with the schools to make sure that we can, we can be there the week that we were planning, and that we will be able to get the number of kids that we wanted to serve.
Karen, so I have you on camera,
Okay.
and the question I'd asked before, I was trying to ask is several women from the Queen's College Association, New York, about to present this idea to the association. What was the reaction from the body, and at what point did you get maximum buy-in?
Trust you to ask the difficult questions, right? I think that this model is a little bit different from some of the models we've followed in the past. So I think we had some work to do in terms of bringing people along to perhaps adopting a slightly different model of providing service to our school. We have the full support of the organization. We had it when we left. We had financial support, emotional support, everything that we possibly would have needed in order to make the mission a success. And it was. On the ground in Guyana, we received very strong support from our alumni there as well. There was an assembly at Queen's College on the first day of the week we were at Queen's College. It was attended by alumni. Was attended by Don Holder, Jeffrey Lane. Ruth Ann Lynch actually just happened to have been in town and participated in our program, made a cameo and helped deliver services on one day. So I think that it's fair to say, it's very accurate to say that we were in Guyana representing Queen's College and the New York chapter, and we were wholly embraced, and we're very happy and pleased about that. I'm the vice president of the New York chapter, and I really enjoy the warm support of my of the membership.
So, Michelle, you want to take a stab at that? At what point you believe that there was maximum buy-in to your idea? And the reason why I'm asking this question, here you are, several women, and it's an association that for some time predominantly male, and this is new. It's a new idea. It's a new paradigm. What was it like presenting this idea to the body, and did you have to do any extra sort of persuasion to get maximum buy-in to it?
Well, anything new is often received with apprehension. There was some hesitancy at first by the body, but I believe that Karen did an excellent job of presenting the benefits that the program would have to the children involved. And I think we were able to convince the group that this was a worthwhile venture, worthwhile enough to invest the scarce resources of the organization to make sure that it's a success. So hesitancy at first, but I believe we got them to come around. It's only natural when faced with something totally new, that's really not that had not been done before. And so there were questions, and Karen was very good at answering those questions and really getting the group, to support us all the way through.
And here's the other question, and this is to both you and Karen. What are some of the other challenges you had from concept and decision, an agreement rather, to execution. What were some of the other challenges?
Well,
To execution. What were some of the other challenges?
well, fundraising,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's not inexpensive to travel from New York to Guyana, right? And particularly so for seven of us, it's not inexpensive to stay in Guyana for 2 weeks for seven women. And given the time frame, we actually decided, Ryan, around the 1st of January, that it's a go. And then we had to spend a lot of time raising the monies necessary to actually go down and deliver. So that was, I would say, the most challenging. Intellectually and in terms of organizing, once we decided that it was something we wanted to do, then there weren't that many stumbling blocks. And particularly once we got the buy-in of our chapter, right? Then it was just simply a matter of acquiring the resources, the financial resources to make it happen. And we did. We kind of leaned on some of our friends and supporters inside and outside of the organization, and they came through. We were lucky enough to receive a sponsorship from Fly Jamaica, something that we were very grateful for. We also received an in-kind contribution from someone in Guyana, Dr. and Mrs. Thomas, and they donated their house to us for 2 weeks. So of course that too lowered the overall cost. But that was a challenging part of it.
And so tell us about your expectations for this project and what surprised you about this trip. Let me narrow this down. Your expectations for this trip, and when you started, let's say the first couple of days, what surprised you about the first couple of days in Guyana?
It's the first time I've done something quite like this, right? So I was nervous, right? And I wasn't quite sure what to expect. But what surprised me was how much the students appreciated us being there. How much they seemed to benefit from it. We have testimonials. There was lots of tears shed when we were leaving, and that surprised me.
And you, Michelle, what was your experience?
I think I was very open to the idea from the as soon as I met with Liz and Elizabeth in late December, and I immediately liked the idea and said to Karen, yeah, we.
Liz Satone and myself are both veteran educators in the field for a long time, and we also are professional photographers and art educators. So the tools we use to teach are very unusual and not quite the correct what most people think of teaching literacy would be. And so This Is Ours was formed by E Squared Education and Environment, the program This Is Ours, and the program itself is an incredibly useful tool to get students to be able to find their voice as writers and as storytellers, and also finding confidence in believing in their knowledge.
What was this your first time in Guyana? First time in Guyana.
It sure was.
So tell us about your experience. You were at Iwokrama, right?
Yes.
What was your experience like?
My experience in Guyana from the moment I set foot in Guyana was tremendous. I was received with more warmth and openness, and I could not get over it. Just to go back to what you were talking about, it being celebrating women this month. I have never met a community of women so strong, I think, in my life. The drive, and the dedication, and the foresight, and the grace of the women I met in Guyana was really extraordinary. But and my experience, it was so interesting because it was so varied from landing in Georgetown, which is an extraordinary city, very different from New York, and very different from any other city I've been to. But it had this incredible energy, and then going up into North Rupununi, just flying over your country, flying over that beautiful, beautiful country, and seeing all of that green and all of the rainforest, and then landing in North Rupununi and into the savannah was just, for me, visually, just, I mean, as far as someone who loves the environment, who really loves the earth, and works with students all over the world, teaching them to appreciate the earth and be able to write and share and photograph about it. It was an incredible moment to land in that beautiful place. And the students in both communities, as Michelle was saying, were so incredibly open and courageous, because they were willing to take on this unusual approach to learning, and they did spectacular work.
You have taken this program, E Squared Learning and Environment, to various countries.
Yes.
What stood out for you in Guyana, especially in the Rupununi and Wakrama? What stood out for you that made you realize or made you thought that, wow, there's something different here?
The children, the adults that we worked with in that, the pride and the knowledge of the value of protecting their earth, their surroundings and their environment was so credible. It's tangible. From the youngest child we met to the oldest adult we met, people are so concerned and aware and educated about the environment. And also something really special about working with IWalk-Rama and NRDDB was storytelling. Our whole program is based on storytelling and narrative, and telling a visual narrative, and getting these young people's knowledge about their environment out into the world and teaching others. And the concept of storytelling and really being able to share their history and their culture through the incredible tool of storytelling is so present. And the students, once they were given the opportunity to be able to really kind of stop and think and recognize what they know about their community, and they also were invited to talk to their elders, to interview elders about what they know about their environment and bring that back to their storytelling. I was so impressed and so kind of blown away by, I guess, their real, true connection to their environment, and it was beautiful.
Tell me something. You and your partner, Liz, created this program. And I'm just trying to get an understanding of how this program either encourages or influences the storyteller. When a story is being told by a child, what role do you play? Do you interrupt? Do you guide? Do you make suggestion? Or do you sit back and allow the story to be told?
That's a great question. The program is very much student-driven, in that we initially, when we first gather with our students in the community, we brainstorm with the students, so they have to decide as a group what's most important in their environment that they would want to teach others. And then they begin an editing process as a community again, and they narrow it down to specific, very important topics. They do, not us, but they make these choices. And then those topics become chapters in our books. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the students then, as far as listening to the stories, or do we get involved in the stories, we do a lot of talking about what is a narrative and how do we tell that story. And we work with writing. We share writing processes, from fact writing to creative writing to interviewing, all based on different aspects of writing. We also do a lot of work with what is a visual narrative, because as professional photographers, Liz and myself, we use photography as an incredible tool to enable students to not only be able to photograph their topic and own that, because when you take a picture, it's yours, but actually understanding what it means to tell a story through a picture. And once they know how to do that, it becomes so much easier for them to write about, because they completely recognize the value and what it connects them to all those, what they already know.
What excites you about this particular process, Elizabeth?
What excites me about this process? It is, and I think Michelle and Karen will, I would imagine, agree with me, but it's really extraordinary to be able to watch the students unfold, kind of like a flower. Forgive the nature connection, but it is, they start sort of kind of not being sure of what we're asking them because they've never been asked to do this. And then they start connecting what they know to both, because they're also